When I will die and will stand in front of a God, God will not ask me why you wasn't so strong like Samson, and why you weren't so clever like Solomon, and why didn't you sing so nice like David the king. He will look at me and ask me, why haven't you built yourself?
That's right. For some of 2022 and 2023, Vera Okun, Sasha's wife of over 50 years, suffered with increasing and then severe dementia. For a significant part of that time, to protect both herself and others, Vera became an inpatient at a mental sanatorium in Jerusalem. And it was there, in that sanatorium, that Sasha witnessed scenes that would have a significant impact on him. This, you can take it, is a reflection on what Sasha witnessed in the sanatorium. So painful that towards the end of her life, Sasha and his family took Vera out of the sanatorium so that she could pass away in peace in their home. So in April 23, I think it was, we took the decision to proceed with this work. In May 23, Vera drifted away helplessly from life, while her loving family watched on also helplessly. So Gates of Justice is a magnum opus, a remarkable work on many levels, and I'll try to indicate some of them to you now. As I say, this is the Marx view. You begin to get the idea that Okun didn't just arrive to paint this work out of the blue, or should I say, black. There was a progression in his life that led to ultimate expression in a work like this. I think back 20 years, and over how many weekends, I don't know, over the 20 years, we sat together at a table like this, not as nice a table as this, but a bit rockety table. But in that period of 20 years, I never imagined for any moment that we would be sitting in front of such a magnum opus, such an epic work, in such surroundings. You had a longer journey than me. You started 40 years before that. But at any point, did your imagination take you to something like this?
I know about 40 years ago, I came to Vienna like an immigrant from Soviet Union without a penny on myself. And I ran around the city, imperial city, great city. And I can do nothing. So I remember that I told myself, once I will be back. But of course I couldn't imagine such a coming out.
When you decided eventually to go to Jerusalem to live, you started to teach and to paint, and not everybody accepted the way that you paint was a way that was acceptable to the
Look, Michael.
art establishment.
Michael, if I could stand against a Soviet power, I don't feel any need to be crushed by Western power.
No.
And to make what they like.
Right. So you've been yourself.
I'm trying.
You succeeded, I think. Succeeded. And for me, the enormous satisfaction is to enable you to do that. My contribution has been that. It's as an enabler.
First of all, it was like a tube of oxygen, because I had a lot of time for myself instead of working to provide my family and so on and so on. And I can tell very important for me, very important for me, that for me Michael isn't just a patron or something like this. He's a friend who stood next to me in the most difficult times of my life. That's much more important.
Yeah, I was reflecting this morning that the relationship started off as a handshake, a business handshake.
Yeah.
You paint, I help you, I do what I can, see you in 6 months. It almost like that. And it developed to friendship. And then it developed almost to as if you were my older brother. I say older brother because I always looked up to you. And I think that's what you do with older brothers.
I think that we provide some kind of symbiosis, which both of us I enjoy. If it would be wine, we will drink wine.
Yes,
so we will
wine.
drink water.
Well,
Okay.
I think that the important thing to say is that the questions raised are universal and timeless.
Yeah, they are eternal.
And that's why
Yeah.
Sasha Okun's work is important today and will be tomorrow. And had it been produced yesterday, would have been equally important then.
Yeah. And I seriously enjoy this conversation.
I always told to Michael that we should both sign a work.
I'd be interested for you to explain what an artist, what you as an artist, or maybe artists generally, seek to achieve in art.
I can speak only for myself.
Yes.
First of all, I try to achieve maximum of what I am able to make a perfect work. Everything is a dialogue, and the art is just the language, just different language, but a language. And as they told, you need two for a tango, so you need the two for interaction.
I like this idea that you brought up of opportunity, the artist offering an opportunity to the viewer, because the viewer, you're asking existential questions here, especially in Gates of Justice. You're asking questions that we all ask ourselves. Sometimes we don't necessarily like to ask some of these questions or to expose ourselves to our vulnerabilities or our fears or our anxieties, but you're presenting that to us here on a magnificent scale. The opportunity, this moment of opportunity, then is sort of translated in the artist, what the audience brings to the painting. You're enabling them, you're opening up questions that can be asked. They don't necessarily have to answer them as the audience, but you're giving them that opportunity to share, to experience, to maybe learn and grow as well from. Simply, I rather like the idea of the artist as an enabler, as offering.
Nobody can give more than he has.
Yeah.
But in art, every good work is much bigger than an artist who did it. If it's good work, it's much bigger. And then everybody can find a place inside it. And that's why a question about what artist wanted to tell, it's not relevant. It's not relevant.
So I recall often you said that great art has to have an element of mystery.
Yes, of course. If there is no mystery, it isn't interesting.
It's not interesting,
It's
right?
not interesting.
So this work has a lot of mystery.
I hope so.
Layer and layer and layer of mystery. The number of mysteries in this work are many-fold. We've spoken about the nurse. We could speak about the doctor.
Do you remember that he was with an open eyes?
Yes, yes. And I remember he was with his hands like this. And then the hands came down.
And he closed his eyes.
And then he closed his eyes. So, is he a good doctor? Is he a bad doctor? Is he a form of a god? And so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. And I say the word mysteries, talking points, analysis, discussion. This work has the capacity to occupy hours of discussion, and many people will have different views.
Of course, I hope so. I hope so.
They will.
But life is a cocktail.
Life is a cocktail.
There is some of pessimism, some of optimism,
That's right.
some of something else.
And then there's realism.
Isn't realism also?
I had you down as a realist.
Okay.
I had you down. I still have you as a realist. I still have you as a hard realist.
It's the most unpleasant position.
A realist.
Yeah.
It is unpleasant, but I think that's what you've chosen. So when we talked about this work in early 2023, and he told me the size, 13 meters by 4 meters, pardon? And he said, 13 meters by 4 meters. I said, what's it about? Then he told me. And I immediately said yes. I understood it. I understood that it was important for Sasha to produce this work at the end of a lifetime of work. I understood how important this was to him. We decided to call it Gates of Justice, directly from one of David's Psalms. It's a reference to the gates, not the gates of heaven, but the gates to the temple in Jerusalem. This was 3,000 years ago. So why is this work so large? I didn't ask Sasha that question. Perhaps I should have done, but I didn't need to ask that question. Because at one level, this work is a requiem mass for Vera. Now, an artist can't produce sound, but he can produce scale. The visual effect of a work of this size is the equivalent, in my judgment, of the requiem mass that sound generated by these remarkable composers. So it's a monumental work, it has a monumental effect, it overwhelms you. It combines the natural and the unnatural figures as they enter the gates and await their fate. So is this painting simply an examination of dementia? Is it who is sane, who is not sane? Is it where are the borders between sanity and insanity? Or is there much more to it than that? The sick and suffering people, patients standing before you in this physical world, as it were, are in the final stages of their lives. It is as if they've come to the edge of the stage at the end of the play to take their final bow. But they don't bow. They're not anticipating your applause. They need our help, something we cannot give them. They need a cure, a remedy, redemption. So we watch on helplessly as they plead equally helplessly for that assistance, for our intervention. Maybe they see us through the footlights of the stage as they point to specific parts of their bodies where the pain is the greatest. Or maybe they don't see us at all. We don't know. Like children, they are unconscious of their nakedness. They stand before us as well as before their God. Shame about nakedness, one of the senses that distinguishes us from the animal kingdom, has been withdrawn from these people. So in that sense, Gates of Justice is the inevitable physical journey towards our own mortality. But here I sense that Sasha is challenging, does it have to be this way? The pain, the suffering, the remorseless departure from reality that is dementia. Here in body, but not in mind. So I sense an Okun fist raised at God in anger, but possibly fear that God has betrayed his own creations, especially his beloved Vera. Is this undignified end to life the best you can do, God? Is this really necessary? How on earth, or in the name of heaven, Can this be justice? The irony of the title of this monumental work becomes apparent. You see before you 13 protagonists. I've counted them, there are 13. A doctor, a nurse, 11 patients. And that brings to mind immediately another painting with 13 people across the canvas, Leonardo's The Last Supper. Coincidentally, The Last Supper depicts a scene taking place at Passover, again, in Jerusalem, again. I say coincidentally because The Last Supper was not in Sasha's mind when he painted this work. I did ask him that, and he answered me honestly. The Last Supper is set in a palazzo in Rome, big room, windows, doors behind the table, perspective, lots of perspective in the room. Here, there is no perspective, just unrelenting blackness, appropriately so for these people, these poor people, because they have no forwards and they have no backwards. They just exist in body. For them, Sasha is saying, there is no hope at all. Here there's no dialogue. There's just entreaties, as if there's nothing left to say. In the gates of justice, apart from the doctor and the nurse, there are no normal gestures. They are abnormal gestures. They are shouting to us. They cry out to us. And here there is no uniting device like a table to join these people together. They are alone. Each is alone. So my interpretation of this is that Sasha is accusing God of betrayal. God of betrayal, of betraying those who he created in his own image. The good doctor can do nothing to help those people you can see from his hands, from his closed eyes. If he could close his ears, in fact, you can't see any ears. It's an interesting point. He has nothing to say, he has nothing he can do to help these people. The nurse pleads to him, as if in prayer, her hands are clasped in prayer to the doctor or even to God, you might say, for a final intervention to save these patients. But the doctor, almost Christ-like, again in his stance, appears unresponsive. He knows that to save these people requires supernatural powers he does not have. He cannot redeem these people. And then in the center of the work, as Sasha often does, he introduces an element of mystery, which one could argue every great work requires an element of mystery. And the mystery here is the nurse. We can see that she's pregnant. We don't know who the father is. Could be the doctor, possibly. Could be one of the patients, very unlikely. Could it be the second Immaculate Conception? Could this be another Mary? Possibly. We just don't know. But Sasha leaves it there for us to determine ourselves who we think, what we think she is pleading for, and who indeed they are. But to me, the womb, the pregnancy, is the next generation, is maybe an element of hope that the next generation will lead to some form of reincarnation or resurrection, something that relieves the agony of this dark painting. Some hope. Maybe the next born generation in the womb of the nurse will succeed where maybe some of these people didn't. We just don't know. We don't know with these people what value they added to the world while they were active. in their lives. They might have been great men. He could have been a nuclear physicist, for all I know. Could have been nothing. She could have been a great poet, a great doctor. We know nothing about these people, what they added to the world before they arrived into this condition. So to me, it's as if Sasha's oeuvre over the last 30 years or so has led inevitably and unavoidably to this crescendo of human tragedy, this requiem mass for Vera, this cry or scream of desperation at maximum volume. Where are you, God? Where are you? Where man without God in this world has seemingly reached a dead end, or has he? The newly born child. Okun is not given an answer by God. So he finally resigns himself to accept that man is on his own in this world, without the assistance of God. And maybe the inference to draw from Okun in this painting is that man has to do a lot better with this world and with his fellow man than he has done thus far.
Showing something that has to be produced for the first time, and it could be a failure, it could be a masterpiece, and we don't know in advance. That's part of our job. It's easy to say Leonardo da Vinci is a great master and to present his work. It's not that easy to do that with contemporary art. It comes always as a kind of surprise. In that case, it's the best surprise that I have ever encountered.